Is it a cake? Or is it a pie? One thing's for certain, this orange funny cake pie is full of surprises. Hello, my dears, and welcome to another episode of Bake Me Up Buttercup. Today, we are once again delving into my vintage recipe book, and I have found a treat that sounds quite fascinating. It is called an orange funny cake pie. How curious! Is it a cake? Is it a pie? And what makes it funny? These are all questions I must find the answer to. We better get started. We will begin by combining 1/4 cup of orange juice, and 3/4 cup of sugar in a saucepan. Oh, take a look at my new portable cooktop, which was an incredibly kind gift from a lovely fan of the show. This is an induction cooktop, which uses electric currents to directly heat the pot through magnetic induction. Not only does it heat much faster and more effectively, but is also quite a bit safer as it is only heating the pot itself and not the surface around it. Very neat! Let's heat this mixture over low heat, stirring until it comes to a boil. Once it is boiling, cook for 1 minute, then remove from the heat. Add in another 1/4 cup of orange juice, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 teaspoon grated orange rind. These days we often refer to this as the zest. I guess it just sounds more appealing. Stir together well. Now we will set this aside to cool. Next, we will need to prepare our pie crust. I have mine all ready to go in a 9.5-inch pie plate. You can find the recipe that I used to make this crust in my chocolate maple pecan pie recipe, which I will share a link to below. Keep your prepared pie crust in the refrigerator while we work on the filling. In a large mixing bowl, add 1/4 cup of shortening. Sift in 1 1/4 cups of cake flour, one teaspoon baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon salt, and 3/4 cups of sugar. Now add in 2 teaspoons of lemon rind, 1/2 cup of milk, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Stir together until the flour is dampened. Using an electric mixer, we will mix on low speed for about 2 minutes. Now, the recipe notes that if you do not have an electric mixer, you can also do 300 vigorous strokes by hand. I hope you have a strong arm and are very good at keeping count. Once finished, add in 1 egg and beat an additional 1 minute longer, or 150 strokes by hand. I'm going the mixer route. Now we will pour this mixture into our pie crust. Those look delicious. Putting a cake batter into a pie crust certainly does seem unusual, doesn't it? Next, we'll pour our sauce from the first step carefully over top. Interesting. The recipe mentions here to sprinkle 3 tablespoons of chopped nuts or flaked coconut over top. However, I do not have those on hand, so I will be leaving them out. We will bake the cake pie at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 177 degrees Celsius, for 50 to 55 minutes. Wait a minute, where did that orange syrup layer go? Very curious. The recipe states to serve it warm topped with whipped cream, so let's cut a piece and try it out right now. Oh look, there's that layer! Alright, I can't wait to dig into this. It fell apart a little bit, but I think it's going to be lovely just the same. Here you go, my dear.
Thank you.
Oh, that's very good.
The recipe is so interesting because I feel like it's slightly misleading in that it is calling it a pie cake because it's mostly just a nice like vanilla cake in a pie crust.
Yeah, basically.
With like a very mild, small layer at the bottom that I guess you could potentially call pie-like, of the like citrus, the orange, and the syrupy like layer that you put on top. It is very neat that it does that trick where you pour that layer on top, and then as it bakes, that layer sinks to the bottom.
I know, it's quite magical. In fact, it quite reminds me of that disaster of a coffee cake I made last year.
Right, we discovered it accidentally in the coffee cake. We made
the upside down coffee cake. If you want to check that out, I'll post a link. But I believe this is supposed to be intentional, and really it's quite lovely and fun.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the fact that it's nice and warm, eating that warm cake layer, and you really get the lovely hints of orange flavor as well. It's certainly interesting eating it in a pie crust, but I don't think I dislike it.
Yeah, the pie crust adds like an interesting bit of texture. I am curious what like the addition of like the nuts or the like coconut. I'm assuming that's just to add texture to it.
Oh, certainly. I think it would add some unique texture to it for sure.
I also don't know if those would like sit on the top. They would probably integrate into the mix as it baked.
Good point.
Most likely. The way that like the syrup did. But a very neat trick for sure. A fun like...
It certainly is a fun one to give a try. I understand now why they call it a funny cake pie. We've solved all the mysteries, except, would you say it's a cake, or would you say it's a pie?
I'd say it's a cake. Pretty definitively.
Well,
it's a cake disguising itself as a pie.
Our expert says it's a cake. I'm a little bit out on this. I kind of feel it's a bit pie-like as well. Well, there you have it. The orange funny cake pie. It was surprisingly delicious, with a warm and moist cake layer, a lovely and tart orange layer, and all in a perfectly flaky pie crust. Top it with a bit of whipped cream, and you have a unique and delightful treat to share. Well, that sure was an exciting recipe. If you like fun and unique vintage recipes, be sure to check out my vintage recipe playlist. It's full of fun surprises. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Until next time, mwah!
See the baker count 1, 2, 3,
Hey,
120,
no, if you don't have an electric
121,
mixer.
122, 120. Oh no, I lost count. Ah, my bake is ruined.